There are lots of hidden clauses in the government's illegal immigration bill, and they've not been flagged up at all by the media, by newspapers, by the BBC and so on. And they're all quite significant, I think. These are not the things that Mrs. May or others talked about during the parliamentary discussion in the Commons. The first one is Clause 17. I'm going to go through these. Clause 17, the issue of serious harm. Now, serious harm has always been a reason for applying for asylum, if you fear serious harm. But in this particular case, the clause excludes a fear of serious harm resulting from a lack of medical support. So, what this effectively does is to exclude the possibility that we could stop somebody being deported to Rwanda, for example, because they have a serious medical condition and Rwanda cannot support that. Now, it becomes feasible to send someone to Rwanda who needs medical help, knowing, therefore, that the nearest medical centre is often far away, with limited opportunities for referrals to hospitals and a near complete lack of basic health care. It's not been flagged up at all by the media. Now, I may be wrong. Rwanda may have the most superlative healthcare, but I don't think it does. And what I've looked up doesn't look great. There may be a private healthcare system that people can access, but the public healthcare system, which presumably refugees and migrants would have to access, is not particularly good or efficacious. So somebody with a life-threatening illness, or even somebody with diabetes, may struggle. The second clause is Clause 24, and this is about a person's age. Now, in the past, it's always been necessary for people who have disputed age to require medical or legal proof. So it's the government's job to establish what a person's real age may be. Now, this becomes significant if somebody, let's say, claims to be 17, whereas in fact they are 18, or claims to be 18, whereas in fact they are 17. In the case of the Rwandan deportations, people who are 17 would be regarded as children, people who are 18 would be regarded as adults, and therefore could be deported. So it will become quite significant. Now, under Clause 24, it will be perfectly possible for an immigration officer to make that decision. So, the first person that somebody meets on arrival in the UK could decide their age despite claims otherwise, and it will not help saying, for example, that my older brother is already a refugee in the UK, and that the documents to confirm my age are with him or whatever, or there won't be time for a refugee to produce that evidence. That is specifically disallowed by Clause 24. The third clause, which I think should cause us concern, is Clause 26. And this allows ministerial intervention, direct ministerial intervention. There's so many refugees, how on earth can there be time for a minister to directly intervene in each case? And that's rather the point. A minister doesn't have time to directly intervene in each case. And this is a very, very crafty piece of legislation. So only a minister can intervene, only a minister may allow an intervention by the European Court of Human Rights. So it's on a minister's say-so that the European Court of Human Rights can have a judgment imposed. So it's not quite what has been reported. So this is a way of getting round defying the European Court of Human Rights. Now, we know that non-compliance with the European Court of Human Rights is in violation of Article 34. And this clause effectively puts everything on hold until a minister finds time, which of course won't be possible, to allow the European Court of Human Rights judgment to be applied in a particular case. By that time, it may well be too late, and inadvertently, I'm so sorry, that person has already been deported to Rwanda. So this is not a rejection of the European Court of Human Rights. It's about avoiding their judgment. It's not a slap down, it's a sleight of hand. And I think this is an incredibly worrying precedent. And together with Clause 22, which prohibits all interim measures, except in the context of war or terrorism, from being imposed by any court, that means any court in the UK, or any court elsewhere, so for example, the European Court of Human Rights. So there are these two clauses, both of which effectively prohibit intervention by the European Court of Human Rights without specifically saying we're not accepting the European Court of Human Rights. It's a very, very interesting bit of smoke and mirrors. And as I say, it's not been explicitly flagged up by the mainstream media, by the BBC. It wasn't specifically addressed in the debates in the House of Commons yesterday. And I think this gets to the heart of this legislation. It's extremely subtle. It's extremely crafty. It's certainly not straightforward, and I think it's wholly deceptive. It is deceptive legislation, and we should be above that. We should absolutely decry and condemn legislation which is sneaky in this way. It's sneaky legislation. This is the sort of stuff that a tyrannical government would impose. It's simply not. It's not honest.